Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We've been off a bit handling some other channels that I have, but we are going to start coming back on in the morning around 10:30, 11 o'clock, because there is so much happening in politics that we just got to jump in. Okay. Now, Donald Trump is losing it. This dude is mentally unhinged. I think at this point, we all know this. Okay. Something is definitely wrong with Donald Trump. Now, what people are saying is that Donald Trump feels that he's going to lose in this upcoming election, and he's doing everything that he can do to hold on to what he has because the country is falling apart. He's mentally unhinged. Now, one of the things that he did do, and I'm sure you guys are already familiar with this situation, Donald Trump tried to tell us in 2020 that for some reason, he won, but we know he lost. Well, he's now targeting Fulton County. He's targeting Fulton County government. So he's targeting Fulton County government, excuse me, because y'all know how Donald Trump is. He wants to get back at them for him being arrested. So let's kind of get into where it started.
Criminal search warrant.
And who's the defendant?
And the criminal search warrant is under seal.
Right.
So we don't even know who the target of the investigation is. This is nothing but sowing the seeds of distrust, right? This is a full frontal attack on democracy. This is a code red in America, in Fulton County. We've seen it in Minneapolis, and now we're seeing it here in Fulton County. We must do everything that we can to protect the right to vote. These records are under seal. Judge McBurney has not issued an order opening these records or allowing these records to be viewed by the government. And until and unless he enters such an order, these records should not be seen or viewed by anyone. And so we're thankful to have our partners here from the state standing with us, because this, again, is a full frontal attack on democracy. And certainly,
you know what? I mean, let me just say that we are going to, if there's a question of, are we going to take all legal action to make sure that, this, what I consider to be an assault on voters. This is an assault on your vote. So I think that, Marvin is an attorney. I'm an attorney. We are all trying to figure out what to do about this. But what we know is that does not even matter. We know in America right now, it does not even matter if what you are saying is the right thing. If our president wants to bring in the forces, he will, and he has. And so it's in Fulton County now. So we have to protect. You need to go to your voter page, make sure that you are still registered to vote. You need to check every week. You need to be unafraid of these scare tactics, and you need to go out there and vote, because what they're mostly afraid of is that you will vote them out. That is what they are afraid of, because midterm elections are going to be a course correction in this country, and they know it. And that's what they're afraid of. So we will not be deterred. We will work together in Fulton County. We will work together with our state partners, and we will move forward, and we will be here protecting your right to vote in Fulton County. Fulton County is a majority Democratic county. So don't be confused as to why this is happening in Fulton County. It's very easy. Follow it. This is not difficult. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, this is something that's so above my heads. It's not above your heads. You need to understand it as the people. You have the power to change this. And you know that this election in 2026 is going to be in your hands. So let's pretend.
So basically, excuse me, what Donald Trump is doing is he is attacking states, districts, towns, anything, anywhere that he feels people didn't vote for him, which is really crazy. Like, why are we at this point in history where people are being targeted? Like, this is just, I'm just not sure how people voted for him and expected anything different. This man is a criminal. He's a thug. He hangs out with people like Jeffrey Epstein. He's mentally unhinged. And as Donald Trump said before, if they lose the election, he know that a lot of them going to spend a lot of days in prison. So he's doing any and everything to stop people from voting. Now, why is he at Fulton County pulling out 2020 ballots when it has been stated by multiple judges that the election was fine? This is his attempt again to silence people, to bully people. And this behavior shouldn't be tolerated. Like, we're in the United States. Like, people should be able to vote for whoever they want. I mean, we got a bunch of crazies that voted for him, a 34-time felon thug, man that hangs out with Jeffrey Epstein, and people voted for him. So people should be able to vote for whoever they want. But this man wants to take people's vote, bully them, and silence them. Donald Trump really needs to spend the rest of his days in jail, in prison. I feel he's a terrorist, and he should not be allowed to be out. Like, this man is terrible, beyond terrible. He's evil.
Protect it.
Why do you think this is happening right now?
I mean, because it's never too early to start.
It's retribution. He is enacting retribution. He's enacting retribution on Fulton County,
That's
on
right.
Minnesota, on places that did not vote for him.
Why isn't he asking for the 2024 ballots?
Explain again.
How about the 2024 ballots? Do they want those, or there were no issues in 2024?
They couldn't get the.
I just said that this is an act of retribution on places that didn't vote for him. Donald Trump is a big, nasty, McDonald's eating idiot. Like, this doesn't make sense. I'm just not understanding why is this still going on. Donald Trump needs to be thrown under the jail, under the prison. He's a thug. For goodness sakes, who do you know with 34 felonies?
The ballots, so now this is a criminal offense, but there's no named defendant.
That's right.
Yeah, so there is a civil lawsuit going on where they were seeking the exact same records. They sent a subpoena. It was denied because of the existing court order that put those records under seal, put these voting records under seal, and they couldn't get it then. They sent a subpoena. They've done it like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And so since they could not get it the proper way legally through civil action, now miraculously there is a
Criminal action
with an unnamed defendant. Who's the unnamed defendant? What is this about? Well, if it was criminal, why didn't they file the criminal search warrant prior to getting denied 2 times?
Donald Trump is a thug. He's a criminal. He's been prohibited by the state of New York for ever even running any type of charity because he's a scam artist. Like, I don't understand why people don't seem to understand that Donald Trump is trash. He's like when you see thugs on the street, the only difference in those thugs on the street is that they're actually on the street. Donald Trump is a thug. Actually, I would prefer to be around a thug because not only is Donald Trump a thug, he hangs around people like Jeffrey Epstein, who was doing weird stuff to you know who. So he's really a horrible individual, and people that vote for him, and they got to be just like him, because who will vote for such of a person that harms children?
In the civil court.
Does a criminal search warrant, when it is served, supposed to be unsealed?
I do not know. I think a judge needs to answer that question. And I have asked the county attorney, and Commissioner Ivory has asked the county attorney to file whatever we can file in order to stop this madness.
Are you hearing about other raids happening in other counties?
No, I heard they're going to try to, the FBI is supposed to be doing a press conference here at 6 o'clock.
Scoot over so we can bring Shay and Eric.
Yes, yes.
Yes. I think it's very important to bring our clerk of Superior Court, Madam Shay Alexander, who's been dealing with this all day because the records are under her chain of custody.
Madam Clerk, can you talk about what it was like to see these agents?
Not at this time. I can't.
Can you tell us?
I'm still processing it. I came out to go to the store to get some water and saw my colleagues and wanted to say hi. I'm just trying to get my staff some water right now. That's all I can do.
Line right now, clerk?
I don't know what's going on.
So I'll say this: the first warrant was to the elections hub, which was incorrect, and so that had to be sent back, and they had to get a new warrant directed to the clerk of Superior Court, Madam Shay, because she is the holder of the archives from the election.
Let me just kind of let you guys know the purpose of this. Hey, Danielle, the purpose of this is to scare people so that they don't vote. And I'm just like really trying to figure out, like, how can I help? I don't know if I need to go rent vans or what, help people get registered. I don't know. Donald Trump needs to go. He just needs to go. So all of this is put in place so that people can somehow, I guess, become afraid. I don't know. He's trying to, I guess, make people, this is crazy. Like, I don't think this is going to work. In fact, people are preparing to, go out and vote and do everything that they need to do. But imagine a president of the United States trying to silence you and make sure you don't vote, and that if you do vote, that you vote for Republicans. And again, like I've said before, if you were a Republican, perhaps you've changed just because of this president, because I don't know who would vote for a president that has strong ties to a man like Jeffrey Epstein. If you guys have saw the Epstein files, which we'll get to, they're saying some pretty nasty things about Donald Trump and what he was doing with underage kids. So this is a sick demonic, nasty person. And I don't see how anybody would vote for him. Donald Trump wants to be the king. He wants people to bow down to his nasty body ass with his big, nasty diaper wearing. He's just disgusting. He's a disgusting person, and you need to tell everybody you know to get out and vote. And normally, I wouldn't be opposed to anybody voting Republican or whatever, however they want to vote. But unfortunately, this election is going to matter. And I'm just telling y'all, if they win, I'm leaving the motherfucking country. Like, there's no need for me to be here. Like, they are trying to turn this country into something that we have never seen, at least in our lifetime. So y'all got to get out there and vote.
And so apparently they have now done that. They're now going in there. My question is, I want to make sure that there is a full and complete inventory, because these are the original voting records, original absentee ballots, right? And so once that stuff leaves our custody, where's the chain of custody? Once it leaves our control, how can we know if we're going to get everything back? How can we know if they might do something?
We won't.
We don't know.
We won't, and we don't know.
They're taking pallets.
Yeah.
We're not doing any inventory.
Yeah,
We don't even know what they're taking.
the ballots are on pallets because because Fulton County runs great elections, and elections from 2020 would already be archived, sealed, put in boxes, put on pallets, and secured. They wouldn't just be boxes floating around, allowed to be accessed. So they already are on pallets, and they're removing the whole pallets. So how can we then inventory what they're taking? You can only see what is happening on the outside of the pallet. You would not be able to see on the inside what the boxes are on the pallets. This is intentional.
Going in and out of the building all afternoon. Have the ballots actually left the building?
Yeah, they're leaving the building right now.
What did the warrant say?
The warrant said all the 2020 ballots, absentee ballots. No. They said what they were coming here to get, and they're getting it.
How does this search warrant supersede the seal? That's the part I think we're not understanding.
Because it's criminal versus civil. The seal is a civil case. They came and brought a criminal case, so that is why it's not connected. And that's what the lawyers are working on right now. What do we do next? And we have there's a band of lawyers right here working on it all. It's intentional for people to be in office who have the skills to deal with these things. And all of us are trying to come together to figure out what to do next. There's a band of people working on because we're under assault. I mean, I think you know that.
Is this unprecedented?
Of course. He's unprecedented. Right? It is. How confident are we? It is. We just had a town hall last week on Thursday about elections. We knew this was going to happen. This is about sowing the seed of fear that people will not show up to the polls in May and November. This is about sowing the seeds of fear. Didn't I say that? This is nothing but a witch hunt, I guess, to make people scared, but it doesn't work. In fact, what it does is, I believe it's going to do the exact opposite. Ain't nobody scared of nobody named Donald Trump who messes with kids. Like, who's afraid of him? I think at this point, with everything that people know about him, is going to have a different kind of reaction, because we don't like people that mess around with kids. Like, you can pretty much do anything, but when you messing with kids, yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go. You got to go. And it's, when I hear people that support Donald Trump, it's, I make in my brain, I'd be like, get the hell away from me, because there's a lot of things you can do, but messing with a child, yeah, I can't mess with you. is what it is. We're 100% sure this is what it is.
Do any of our state reps want to say anything? Certainly, we're glad to have you all speak.
Representative Draper is our resident voting rights expert to talk about where we are.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Syra Draper. I'm the State House Representative for House District 90. Ever since 2020, there is a man who cannot get over the fact that he lost here in Georgia. He simply cannot get over it. And now, in a vindictive nature, he is coming after us. Now, since 2020, there have been many attempts to get at the documents of Fulton County and to undermine the confidence in what Fulton County has done. But there have been audits after audits. There have been court cases filed here in Fulton County to find out what has gone on. There has been an independent investigation through the SCB that absolved Fulton County of any kind of misconduct or systemic voter fraud, right? That simply has not happened here. I would tell you, if this administration had a genuine interest in getting to voter fraud, they should be investigating Coffee County, where we have actual evidence of people going into the election office after hours and copying election documents. But there's not an interest in going to Coffee County, which is a red county. Fulton County is being targeted because it is the largest county in Georgia, and it is the home of Atlanta.
That's right.
So this does not pass the smell.
Now, I guess y'all missed that part. Coffee County, which is a Republican county, definitely was doing some kind of election fraud. Oh, but they don't want to talk about that because that county voted for Donald Trump. Now, if you are in fact doing what you say that you're doing because you want to cut out this fraud, fraud is fraud. But for some instance or for some reason, as long as the fraud is helping them out, it's okay. Come on now, make it make sense.
Test, obviously. They have failed at every juncture to be able to get these documents. And so they have now found this loophole to try and get to it. But I will tell you that we are not done. We are going to continue to stand up for the rights of voters. And I agree with everything Commissioner Ivory said, that the best thing that you can do as a Georgia citizen is get to the polls and cast your ballot, because they wouldn't be trying so hard to stop you from voting if they weren't worried about what the impact would be. Thank you. Anybody else like to?
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Can we clarify once again just when and why the ballots were placed under seal? Just for clarification.
I think that's the normal process. Yeah. That is the normal process. I said Commissioner Barrett has joined us. Certainly, if you want to say something, Commissioner Barrett, the normal process is for those records to be under seal.
Yeah. They aren't just for people to be able to come and review, right? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm also just coming out after talking to all of our experts. I mean, obviously, we're doing everything that we must legally, but I agree with my colleagues. We are absolutely going to stand up and make sure that Fulton County voters get to cast their vote in the 2026 election and the 2028 election. There is no excuse for the state elections board to take over our elections. As I said earlier today, this is political theater. It is a distraction from the actions that are of ICE in Minnesota, killing people, the threats of Pam Bondi to not leave Minnesota if they don't turn over their voter rolls. I mean, this is the kind of things that are happening. So, this is just unacceptable, and we are following.
Why do the president, why is he so concerned about the voter rolls? Another thing people need to make sure is they need to make sure that they're registered, because I feel like they're going to probably start unregistering people. In order to vote, you actually have to be registered. So hopefully they can pass some kind of law that says you can register on voting day, because y'all got to understand. Let me kind of put this in perspective. We're going to use you as an example. Let's say you did something, and let's say you were president and you committed a whole bunch of crimes, but because you're the president, they can't put you in prison. But the moment that you walk out of the White House, you can go to prison. Tell me, what would you do to make sure you don't go? Let's just put it in that type of perspective. Donald Trump knows that when his nasty ass comes out of that White House, that he will be going to a jail cell for the rest of his life. So I don't know. If you put it in that perspective, I don't know. I may just be doing it too. I'm just saying, if you know that when you leave the White House, the next place you're going is the jailhouse cell, what would you do? You would probably do anything, because think about it. This is his last 3 years of freedom. If he does not stay, he can't stay as president, but if he does not maintain his corrupt group of MAGAs, he's going to prison. And let me just tell you why. Because the Democrats and the Republicans, they vote on bills. Depending on, let's say if it's more Democrats, they're going to vote against Trump. If it's more Republicans, they're going to vote for Trump. So if the Democrats win, they ass is going to prison. And honestly, unfortunately, that's where they need to be. Because if Donald Trump was black, y'all fuckers would be having a fit. The only reason why you let this nasty, pale piece of trash do what he does is because he's beige dirt. Not white, he's beige dirt.
The law, but we will defend Fulton County votes at all costs.
Has anything been filed that will keep the papers here? A stay,
No.
filed to the judge, so we can try to get a stay, anything where these documents cannot leave here. Because we do know how important it is.
Yeah.
These are
Not yet. We've
Not
asked
yet.
we've asked the attorney to take the appropriate action, and she is investigating to see what can be filed and under what circumstances it can be filed. But certainly we don't want to get in the way of a criminal investigation, but it's a criminal investigation to nowhere.
Yeah, and I will only add that I know our county attorneys are talking to some of the top criminal attorneys that are in town and know how to handle these cases. So we're getting advice from the best.
Yeah.
You know, one more thing. I do think this is a pretext for trying to take over Fulton County elections. The Georgia legislature with SB 202 passed a provision that the state could overtake specific counties if certain circumstances were met. They attempted to do that with Fulton County, but the independent report recommended that the state not take over Fulton County elections. So they tried to do this. They failed, and now they're going for another bite at the apple. So that is a very real risk when the Republican-run Georgia state government tries to overtake what's happening in Fulton County and what's happening with Fulton voters who have elected their representatives to run their elections.
Yeah, there are multiple things going on in Fulton. There are multiple things going on in Fulton County right now that we are battling. So this is just one of many. I think you'll see the attack on Fulton get even deeper as we get closer and closer and as the elections begin to play themselves out. So I think this is to be continued, certainly not just what's happening today.
I think it's also worth noting that the 2024 election, nobody's questioning that.
Yeah, right.
The 2024 election in Fulton County went perfectly. You know who won? You wonder why? That's why. So we know our elections are run smoothly here. No matter what they take out of here, we already know what they're going to say about what they take. It's not going to be the truth. It's going to be that Fulton County did something wrong. Heaven forbid they put more of our election workers at risk with this new investigation.
And frankly, the 2020 election is a moot point. The 2020 election is moot. The election is over. The man has already been elected again. So why were we looking at anything with 2020? Why does it matter?
To militarize our elections and to scare people to going to the polls. That's why. That is the only reason. This is not meant to be able to put him, give him something that he can get back. That election is way over. This is to make you fearful of moving forward. And we know that he does that really well, but we're not going to fall for it. And so we're going to move forward doing what Fulton County always does, runs fair and free and accurate elections. And that's what we do.
Thank you all.
Like I said, this is all meant to inflict fear, people. You better not be scared, because if you're scared now, what's to come? You guys see how the ICE, now, when in the hell have you ever came in contact with a police with something over their face? These people have to identify themselves. How do you know that this is a police officer? If the ICE people can just have something over their face, you don't know. A criminal can put something over their face and pretend to be ICE. So why are the ICE police running around with shit over their faces? This is all corruption. Donald Trump is a thug, PEDO. Hangs around with Jeffrey Epstein, does weird stuff with kids. He needs to go. Donald Trump gotta go.
Thank you.
All right, just listening in there to that out of Fulton County, Georgia. And of course, this is a bombshell breaking news event taking place in Fulton County, Georgia, the largest county there in the Peach State, as this search warrant, according to the Fulton County Commissioner Mo Ivory, relating to the 2020 election, as this search warrant for all ballots relating to that election some 6 years ago. We're still watching this unfold in real time, high atop, courtesy of some aerials, as they were talking about just the magnitude, the breadth of this investigation, this search warrant. As they said, these ballots were on pallets, just the amount of people that voted in that election that they're trying to seize. They are concerned that once they leave the facility, they won't have an inventory of them. They don't know exactly potentially where they will go. Also talked a little bit about the exact search warrant, said they came for the election hub for a search warrant, but they were turned away because the ballots were in the archive. So they had to go back, get a proper search warrant, and then return. So you're just looking at some of these scenes high atop and just the kind of warehouse, the trucks that are needed to move this amount of paper with hundreds of thousands of people voting in the 2020 election. Of course, the FBI on Wednesday searched the election office central to the right-wing conspiracy theories over President Donald Trump's 2020 election loss, just 1 week after the Republican leader predicted prosecutions over a contest he basically insisted was tainted by widespread fraud. So you can see their police also on hand for this. Let's quickly take you back out here on Live Now from Fox to our Fox 5 team, as they are breaking it all down with some context from Georgia.
Okay, guys. So that is pretty much what is going on. Obviously, Donald Trump is trying to insert fear in people by trying to get them not to vote, which is crazy. So what has happened now is those very ballots, they're still missing and they're still in the custody of the federal government. Do you know what Fulton County had to do? They actually now have to sue the federal government to get the files back. So instead of Donald Trump lowering the cost of food and all of the bullshit that he should be doing, the only thing he's doing is grifting, stealing, and trying to remain in power. He don't give a damn about people who struggling. He doesn't give a damn about people who may not have a job. He doesn't give a damn about any of that.
All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here, particularly on such short notice. I mean, I know most of you, but I want to begin by saying that this is the election season, nationally, statewide, locally. There's been a lot of speculation about what we are doing, what we should be doing, advice and counsel from all quarters, particularly elected officials, would-be elected officials, and so forth. But I ask you to talk to us before reporting things that may not be factual, because this is a serious case. Now, this morning, Fulton County filed a motion in federal court on my behalf, personally, and on behalf of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections. That's Rob Pitts and the Board of Registration and Elections versus the United States of America. The motion seeks the return of all files from the 2020 election that were confiscated by the FBI last week during the raid at our Fulton County Elections Hub. The motion also seeks the unsealing of the affidavit that was filed in support of the search warrant that the FBI used to raid our warehouse. Now, however, because the case is still under seal at this time, I cannot share the contents of the motion itself. Now, last week, I committed to the voters of Fulton County and the world for that matter, that we will use every resource at our disposal to fight for their vote, and that we will fight using all resources against those who seek to take over our elections. Our Constitution itself is at stake in this fight. And I want to repeat, the Constitution is the law of the land. The Constitution is not a suggestion. And once again, I want to thank all of those from around the nation, legal minds in particular, who have volunteered their assistance because they know that this is bigger than just Fulton County, Georgia alone. And we appreciate their help. And I really want to thank our county attorney. She and I have been working around the clock since last Wednesday, because this is a complicated case and we want to get it right. She's very competent, she's very capable, but we also recognize that because of the fact that this will involve, and it probably will involve, states, other states. In fact, the president himself has mentioned some 15 plus other states where he believes that there are problems. That's why I say that this is.
Guys, so what this, and I'm going to say it again, this is not about any fair election. This is about how these bitches can cheat. Come on, we ain't stupid. Now, you ain't got to finish high school to figure this out. This is because they want to cheat. And where they can't cheat, they're going to say that these elections are unfair so that they can take them over and cheat. Because what's the coincidence of the states that did not vote for Donald Trump in an overwhelming amount? They're fraudulent. I mean, have you guys, well, they actually, to be honest, they're even reporting on Donald Trump's rallies, and when he speaks, nobody is freaking showing up. So they pretty much know that their ass is toast. They are going down. No, listen, in these few elections that we just had, they lost. People are sick of this bullshit. Like, this is not how this country is supposed to be ran. People can't pay their rent. Rent prices are up. Food prices are up. People done lost their jobs. How are people supposed to maintain? Health costs is too much. But you got a felon president in the White House, and this is all he's concerned about, is that he can maintain control and win. He doesn't give a damn about anything else. And then he's trying to put homeless people into an insane asylum. He needs to be in a damn insane asylum. This man is mentally unhinged. He's losing it and he's crazy. And again, I guess if you really think about it like this, if you knew that in the next 3 years you could be going to prison, what would you do to maintain your freedom?
This is a very complicated situation and has implications far beyond Fulton County, Georgia. That's why we've brought on some outstanding legal minds, and I can talk more about them later if you'd like to know who they are, to advise us in this matter. We're not in this fight alone. But again, this case is not only about Fulton County, it's about elections across Georgia and across the nation. But Fulton County, make no mistake, in my opinion, we are the poster child here of all the states, all the counties, all the cities that may involve. Is Fulton County, Georgia, because of the 2020 elections. And the president himself and his allies, they refused to accept the fact that they lost. And even if he had won Georgia, he would still have lost the presidency. The 2020 elections, I've said it over and over again, and you know the story. They've been reviewed, they've been scrutinized, they've been audited, hand recounted, and everything else you can imagine. The results are always the same. And what they're doing with the ballots that they have now, we don't know. But if they're counted fairly and honestly, the results will be the same. In addition to that, since 2020, Fulton County has conducted 17 successful elections without any issues. Our Fulton County Elections Department, as I stand before you this morning, is focused right now on delivering free and fair elections in 2026 in compliance with the law. And we must do this without interference or threats of a federal takeover. Since we're still in the early stages of this fight, I can't go into a lot of detail, but I promise you that I, in my role as chair of the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County and the spokesperson for Fulton County, I will continue to keep you updated as warranted. Thank you.
It sounds like you're suggesting that there's other people involved in this lawsuit other than Fulton County in the United States. Is that accurate?
When you say involved, what I meant by that is that we have other counsel that's working with our county attorney. That's what I mean by that. Other legal minds who have experience, knowledge, expertise to these matters. But our county attorney has done an outstanding job so far.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We've heard from the president saying that he wants to nationalize elections.
Yes.
In order to somehow do that, he would have to gather evidence to prove malfeasance or fraud. Do you believe that Fulton County is the epicenter of an effort to do this?
I really do. And I think that Fulton County, Georgia is in fact the epicenter, and I'll tell you why. 2020, they're fixated on 2020. Number one. Number two, President Biden really carried Fulton County. Senator Ossoff was elected. Senator Warnock was elected. We all know the problems that the president had, our DA and the president. That was a problem. He never wanted to come here to be photographed when he was booked in. So there's just a litany of things as to why I believe that Fulton County is.
Donald Trump is, first of all, he's a felon pedo. I mean, we know that. But one of the, the reasons that he has so much disdain for Fulton County is because he had to go to jail in Fulton County for the fraud and the crimes that he did. And I don't know why, Fani Willis was so nice by letting his bitch ass out, because if it was me, he would still be in jail. Okay. I would have never let him out. Donald Trump, first of all, he was convicted of 34 felonies in New York, right? And then he had all of these charges in Georgia. He would still be in jail. He would be in jail because guess what? Most of the people in Fulton County don't have 34 felonies. So Donald Trump would have deleted in jail because he would have never gotten out. So that's the first mistake they made by letting him out. But listen, let's get into it because we only got about another 15 minutes. And I want to make sure y'all understand who we're dealing with. Not only is this a criminal thug, he's all in the Epstein. He's all in through. Take him through there, the Epstein files. Look at this. Look at this. This is disgusting. This is the man who people elected. Look at this. All through the Epstein files.
Calling on 2 New York judges to provide emergency relief and shut down the Epstein.
Well, and let's talk about something that they did. Okay. So when a person is a victim, you should not be publishing their names. Because what you're doing is, if you're a victim of this kind of horrendous act, why would you want to be re-victimized by having your information in these files? So what Donald Trump in his DEI administration was supposed to do was redact a victim's name. Why re-traumatize these people? This is crazy. Well, there's people in here whose names were not redacted. There are people who wanted to remain anonymous because they really never told their story to the public. And guess what? Donald Trump and his quacky administration revealed these people's names.
Files website immediately after a number of them had their identity. Overnight, the survivors calling on 2 New York judges to provide emergency relief and shut down the Epstein Files website immediately after a number of them had their identities exposed, writing, DOJ committed what may be the single most egregious violation of victim privacy in one day in United States history. DOJ officials say they work to correct any mistakes when they become known.
Every time we hear from a victim or their lawyer that they believe.
So did y'all hear that? Tell me, how does this happen? Like, you got to be the dumbest person on the face of this earth. How do you re-victimize a person who's already been victimized by the president and his friend, Jeffrey Epstein, but then you re-victimize them in these reports, but you don't have the brain processing power to know that you shouldn't be doing that. So these victims now had to go and pay lawyers to reach out, submit motions and petitions for them to have their names removed when their names should never have been provided to the public. Are you kidding me?
That their name was not properly.
And look at this dumb idiot, Todd Blanche, another DEI hire.
Redacted. We immediately rectify that.
But the emergency request includes this quote from a person whose name has never been divulged before, saying, "I've never come forward. I'm now being harassed by the media and others. This is devastating to my life."
Imagine being a victim that said that, listen, I never came forward because I didn't want my information to be out in the public. And now this person is being harassed. And this is horrible. We have a horrible, I don't even want to call him a president. We have a horrible 34-time felon thug PEDO in the White House that needs to go.
The documents also raising serious questions about why Jeffrey Epstein was given such leniency after investigators initially uncovered potentially breathtaking criminal activity.
It is just this incredible, deep, visceral level of frustration and disappointment and sadness and grief.
Released for the first time, the original prosecution memo from a DOJ lawyer in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami in 2007, showing that federal authorities had uncovered evidence pointing to the broad scale and depravity of Epstein's molestation and exploitation of girls and young women. According to the memo, FBI agents discovered that Epstein arranged for massage appointments for girls and women ranging in age from 14 to 23 years old.
14 to 23. Yeah, that's giving kid all day. So this is the type of person that Donald Trump was friends with. And he can lie and say that he didn't know, because Donald Trump is all up and through these Epstein files talking about how he had a kid on their knees doing some nasty stuff to the child. And then in the report, it said that Donald Trump hit the girl in the face when she bit him. This man is scum. The president is scum and needs to go to jail for the rest of his life.
With victims receiving a finder's fee of $200 if they recruited other girls. The memo goes on to warn that Epstein represented a continued danger to the community based on his continued enticement of underage girls. Federal prosecutors initially wanted to charge Epstein with at least 60 felony counts, but in the end, Epstein was offered a deal where he served only 13 months of an 18-month prison sentence on Florida state charges, even allowed to work in his office during weekdays. President Trump's name comes up thousands of times in the Epstein files.
President Trump's name comes up thousands of times in the Epstein files. Now, listen, let me break this down for y'all. His name was in there so damn much, I guess they got tired of deleting it because it was just too much. So we're not talking about the times his name was deleted, but his name was in there thousands of times. This is the man that was elected president who is rolling around with a man who is a convicted sex trafficker.
Mostly in news articles, but also in emails written by Epstein himself. The newly released files also include records of unverified tips to investigators, including some uncorroborated information pertaining to Trump and other high-profile individuals. The two men had a falling out, and the president says he cut off contact with Epstein decades ago. DOJ officials have said the allegations regarding President Trump are false and do not come from credible sources. The new documents are also placing even more scrutiny on men who we've known spent time with Epstein. Among the thousands of new photos released, these never-before-seen images of former Prince Andrew, who was stripped of his royal titles last year over his relationship with Epstein. Now seen here, crouched over a young woman, her face redacted, the date and context of the interaction unclear. Representatives for Andrew have not responded to a request for comment, but now the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is calling for Andrew to testify before Congress. Epstein was freed in 2009, and the newly released documents show he continued to communicate with some of the most powerful men in the world. The newly released documents show in 2012, Epstein emailing tech billionaire Elon Musk, allegedly discussing plans for Musk to visit Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. In one email, it appears Musk asked, quote, "What day night will be the wildest party on your island?" Musk says he never went to the island, and this weekend said he has long advocated for the release of files. Epstein had been cozying up to some of the most influential men on the planet since the 1990s. All have denied any wrongdoing and any knowledge of crimes or Epstein targeting children. So much collateral.
That's too much. This is the man that the weirdo in the White House has decided to be friends with. Donald Trump needs to go. I'm not sure why anybody would want to support somebody such as a Donald Trump, who is hanging around a man that has harmed so many children, young adults. It's sick. It's disgusting. Very sick, very disgusting. Donald Trump wants to take away your right to vote. He wants to rule everything. He doesn't want people to be able to say anything about him.
Going to return now to that developing news that we continue to follow out of Fulton County and the fallout, the reactions, and the responses that we are tracking to it. Again, if you're just joining us, last week the FBI executed a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub, seeking and seizing documents and ballots related to the 2020 election. Just this morning, just a few hours ago, some Fulton County officials, including, according to a spokesperson for Fulton County, the Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts and the Fulton County Board of Elections and Registration, filed suit of their own. They filed a motion in response to the FBI's search warrant, seeking the unsealing of the affidavit that was in support of that search warrant, and also seeking the return of the evidence that was seized. At last check with our Doug Richards about 45 minutes ago or so now, who has been tracking this story, no response to this latest piece of litigation from the FBI at this point. We will continue to track that. But it's not just a local or a state story. This has become a national story with national interest once again on Georgia politics, and Georgia's election system. Our Faith Jesse, my co-anchor on the Georgia Vote, a core member of the 11 Alive political team, a woman who wears many hats. You just recently, just in the last hour or so, talked with Georgia's Senator Raphael Warnock about this. What did he tell you in your conversation?
Well, Zach, I'll tell you what, it's something that we've heard many Democrats talk about and even some Republicans. But what he is talking about here is just the fact that this election, he believes that it was a fair election in 2020. And he believes that this move is a move to undermine the election process. Like you were just explaining, there are a lot of questions about this, what some are calling a raid, what some are calling search warrants being executed. But the reality of it is that the 2020 election was won by President Joe Biden, former President Joe Biden, but President Donald Trump he continues to dispute that. He says that he does not believe that. He continues to say that the election was rigged and stolen. if you all remember, back in 2020, there were multiple recounts. Governor Brian Kemp, as well as Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, were at the helm of that. There was a specific phone call, which led to a specific indictment against the president. And here we are now in 2026 with what we see, this search warrant executed at the FBI, or excuse me, at the Fulton County Election Hub by the FBI.
And Faith, I know that that was not the only focus of your conversation with the senator. He visited Minneapolis just a few days ago in the wake of the fatal shooting by federal immigration agents of Alex Preddy, a protester in Minneapolis, the second demonstrator who was fatally shot by federal immigration agents in just a few weeks in that city. Senator Warnock visited the memorial to Preddy. I know you talked to him about his views on what's going on in Minneapolis and immigration enforcement across the country. What did he tell you?
That's right. I mean, and it's really interesting too, because I'm pretty sure, and if you're watching this and I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure we're one of the first local stations. He spoke with me and Sarah Callis from Georgia Public Broadcasting this morning since that trip from Minneapolis. And what he was saying is that, you know, he went over to Minneapolis as a senator, but also as a minister. He gathered there with faith leaders, and he is very against this. He does not believe what ICE enforcement is doing right now is right. He does not believe the actions that they are doing is right. He believes that it is against the Constitution, and he went there to pay his respects to Alex Preddy, as well as Renee Goodman, who was shot and killed by the hands of ICE enforcement officers before him. We do have a couple of clips. I think since we were talking about ICE, we'll go ahead and pull that one up first. Here, yeah. We're good. Here's what he had to say when I asked him about what specific policies he wants to see he can do as a senator that he can push for between now and November in regard to ICE. Take a listen.
Let me be clear where I stand. No more masked men jumping out of unmarked cars on our streets. No more using children as bait. No more barging into the homes of ordinary citizens without a warrant. These are basic civil protections that I learned in 9th grade civics class. You don't have to have a law degree or to serve in the Senate to know that these things are wrong. And I intend to hold the Trump Vance regime that is trying to turn our American democracy into an authoritarian experience. I intend to hold them accountable.
Yes, sir. He says that he intends to do what he can in the Senate to hold the president and those behind the president accountable for this. Ultimately, he said it's going to be up to the voter to decide in November, as well as the midterms in May, but ultimately in November to put people in places of power who can make decisions. As you know, the Republicans do have the majority. Many Republicans are following the directive of President Donald Trump, who this was a campaign promise that he has remained true to with ICE enforcement. This is nothing new. He had campaigned on this, and he is sticking to it and continues with the immigration enforcement. But Senator Warnock, as well as Senator Ossoff, and several Democratic senators, as well as representatives in Washington, they say that they are doing what they can do now in their power to make sure that the people of Georgia are protected.
And Faith, obviously, you know this well. We cover this together. 2026 midterm year is here. We are coming up on the heart of the midterm election cycle. Senator Warnock is not up for re-election this year. His colleague, though, fellow Democrat Senator John Ossoff, is. We've been talking a lot today about the Republican primary in the governor's race. The Republican primary in the Senate race has also gotten a lot of attention, has become increasingly heated. Whoever gets the Republican nomination will go on to challenge Ossoff in November. Overarching all of this conversation about elections is what happened at the Fulton County Election Hub. That has become, once again, a central theme of campaigns and our election conversation. I wonder if the senator said anything on that front.
So he did not speak about the campaign specifically, but since you brought that up, I do have some statements from Mr. Ossoff regarding the FBI raid. The statement that we have, it says, Donald Trump's conspiracy theories about the 2020 election have been based in Georgia from the very start. We need to be prepared for Trump to continue abusing his power in an attempt to undermine Georgians' voting rights in the midterm elections. I challenge my Republican opponents, Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley, and Mike Collins, to answer a simple question. Did Donald Trump win the state of Georgia in 2020? That is a statement from John Ossoff. Of course, I did reach out to all three campaigns. I'm just checking my phone right now to make sure that I did not get a text message between now and when I received this. I did receive one statement. However, I have not received statements from Derek Dooley or Mike Collins, but Buddy Carter did send in a statement saying, unlike John Ossoff, I have no problem telling the truth, which is that Donald Trump won the state of Georgia in 2020. After years of lawfare against the president, we are finally having a proper investigation that I hope will get to the bottom of the fraud that occurred in that election. Look no further than recent reports of people registering to vote from addresses beneath bridges and empty lots for proof of that. If Ossoff is truly concerned with election security, he would sponsor the Save America Act and ensure only American citizens register to vote, but that would chip away at his voting base, so he prefers to maintain the loopholes that allow illegal immigrants to vote in our elections. That is according to Representative Buddy Carter. It's important to note that election fraud was investigated several times in 2020, and nothing was found during those multiple audits. However, just like Buddy Carter, Congressman Mike Collins, who I spoke to last week, he says, we want to see the truth come out of this. I asked him, well, was the truth not revealed in 2020? He said, we'll have to wait and see. Now, on the FBI raid, I did ask Senator Warnock about it. Here is part of our exchange. Our producer is going to pull that up for you.
Senator, you are leading that oversight effort with Congresswomen Nikema Williams, Lucy McBath, and a lot of voters here in Georgia are wondering what is going on. You've requested this meeting with Pam Bondi. If she refuses to give you a briefing, what specific consequences will you push for, and what authority do you have to enforce that?
Listen, we will keep raising these issues. Donald Trump tried this in 2020. And the voters of Georgia, they were the ones ultimately who held him accountable. They fired him. And try as he might to disrupt our elections in 2026, part of the response, and I'll continue to do my work as a voice for Georgia in the Senate, but part of how you respond to these awful efforts at voter suppression is to turn out in such large numbers that the outcome is overwhelming and cannot be disputed. And so I think Georgians have seen this before.
So guys, pretty much, the message for this video is, listen, we got to get out and vote. We got to make sure we are registered to vote. We cannot let a mentally ill man with 34 felonies who is hanging around people that harm children stop you from moving forward. And also, if you guys have not hit the like button, the thumbs up button, make sure you do that. But at the end of the day, y'all, we got to stay diligent, and we cannot let this loser who's mentally off, get us off course. We got to vote. We got to get this man out of office. He has to go. At this point, this has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat, but unfortunately, until Donald Trump gets out of office, y'all probably want to just don't do the Republicans right now, because Donald Trump is going to use this to his advantage. He's not helping the economy. How many people in the chat that's paying high rents, high food bills? The way we live in the United States of America is a mess. Other countries, they get free health care. We don't get shit for free. But we have a president in the White House who is a grift, who's stealing. And why do we have a person in the White House with 34 felonies? Now, if he was Black, it would be a whole nother story. Y'all hit the like button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same